Pedro Pascal had a movie this year that made less than $3,000 in theaters. Elizabeth Olsen, Taron Egerton, and Riz Ahmed all released movies that almost nobody saw. Some of them don't even have publicly posted box office numbers. Here are 10 recent flops nobody watched, ranked by how badly they were buried. Let's start with that Pedro Pascal movie because the number is so insane it's hard to believe. Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck directed Captain Marvel, $1 billion. And then they made Freaky Tales, an anthology action comedy set in 1987 Oakland with 4 different stories. One's about punk rock fans fighting Nazi skinheads, another has Pedro going up against his old gang. It premiered at Sundance in January 2024, and everyone figured some distributor would grab it. But nobody wanted it. So it sat there for over a year. Lionsgate ended up with it, but only because they'd bought this company called E1, and Freaky Tales just came as part of the deal. They didn't want it. And after Lionsgate had this brutal year of bombs in 2024, they basically decided to bury the thing. Almost no marketing, handful of theaters, 2 weeks maybe. Then it was gone. The movie made $2,750. You could make more than that working part-time for a month. And again, these are the same directors who made a $1 billion Marvel movie. Relays got Riz Ahmed, Lily James, and Sam Worthington. Worthington's back with Avatar: Fire and Ash right now, but before that he did this R-rated thriller where Ahmed plays a fixer handling secret deals for whistleblowers. David Mackenzie directed it. He made Hell or High Water. The script was on the blacklist, which means it was considered one of the best unproduced screenplays in Hollywood. They filmed it in spring 2022. It didn't come out until August 2025, 3 years. And when it finally came out, it was through Bleecker Street, which isn't a major distributor. They put it on just over 1,000 screens in the dead zone of August. The movie's actually good if you're into smart, slow-burn thrillers, but people showed up expecting high-stakes action and got a character drama. They spent at least $14 million just shooting in New Jersey. The movie made just $4.6 million worldwide. The assessment has Elizabeth Olsen and Alicia Vikander. $8 million budget. It's about this dystopian future where you have to pass an assessment to become a parent. And this couple goes through a week-long test that turns into psychological torture. Vikander plays multiple versions of the same character and said it was one of the riskiest roles she'd done. The movie's dark, bleak, definitely not feel-good, but it's got real performances and an interesting premise. Premiered at Toronto in September 2024. Took 6 months to reach U.S. theaters through Magnolia Pictures, who put it in 265 theaters with barely any promotion. It got pirated almost immediately. Played for maybe 2 weeks and made $276,000. Olsen and Vikander couldn't get people into seats. That's how bad things are for mid-budget indies right now. This one premiered at Cannes. Director's Fortnight section, which is a big deal for an indie. Then it spent almost a year going from festival to festival and picking up buzz. By the time it got a US release in March, Music Box put it in about 80 theaters total. Made $500,000. The movie's about 2 rec league baseball teams playing one last game before their field gets torn down to build a school. It's set in the 90s, filmed at this historic field in Massachusetts where the Yankees and Red Sox once played an exhibition game back in 1946. The cast is mostly people you've never seen before, except there's a cameo from Bill Lee, the old Red Sox pitcher. 80 critics reviewed it, every single one liked it. It still sits at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. But who's going to rush to the theater to watch an indie about amateur baseball players saying goodbye to their field? That's the problem. The movie's good, the reviews prove it's good, but it's not the kind of thing that gets people off their couch. So it played 80 theaters, made $500,000, and vanished. Turns out Taron Egerton produced and starred in a crime thriller this year. Lionsgate released it. And the box office numbers don't exist because so few people saw it that nobody bothered tracking it. That's not an exaggeration. There's literally no box office data for this movie. Well, except for Lithuania for some reason. It's based on a novel by Jordan Harper, who also wrote the screenplay. Guy gets out of prison, his old gang immediately puts a hit on his family, so he grabs his 11-year-old daughter who barely knows him, and they go on the run. Pretty straightforward crime drama setup. Lionsgate dumped it in August, which is where movies go to die. Gave it such a limited release that tracking services didn't even bother recording how much it made. Edgerton's in it, the reviews were solid, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it still disappeared completely. The kid playing the daughter apparently carries the whole movie, and Edgerton himself keeps telling people to read the book because he knows nobody saw the film. The novel goes harder and more violent, but even the toned-down movie version had something going for it. This one pisses me off. February 2025, Sundance. Eva Victor's debut film, Sorry Baby, is the most acclaimed movie at the festival. A24 buys it for $8 million. Everyone assumes they're going to push it for awards come fall because that's what A24 does with their big Sundance pickups. Summer rolls around and A24 gives it a nothing release. Never goes over 100 theaters. Plays through the entire summer and makes $3 million. No Oscar campaign, not on any prediction list, just 2 Gotham Award nominations, and that's it. Eva Victor's a comedian and actress. She's been on Billions, does stand-up. This is her first time writing and directing a feature. She also stars in it. The movie deals with sexual assault and its long-term effects, tells the story non-linearly, and according to people who've seen it, she pulls it off without hitting any of the obvious wrong notes. But here's what's crazy. A24 paid $8 million for this thing at Sundance. That means they saw it, loved it enough to outbid other buyers, wrote a check for $8 million, and then just let it die. Gave it a token release and moved on. Barbie Ferreira and John Leguizamo made a movie together that won both the Grand Jury Award and the Audience Award at South by Southwest. People who saw it loved it. The whole thing started because the writer-director accidentally messaged the wrong person on Facebook and ended up getting life advice from a stranger. She turned that into a script about a woman who does the same thing. She messages some guy named Bob Trevino by mistake, keeps talking to him, and he ends up being more of a father figure than her actual dad ever was. It sounds like it could be a dumb Hallmark movie, but Ferreira and Leguizamo are both great in it. The script's sharp, and it actually lands emotionally without being manipulative about it. The problem was, they shot it during the 2023 strikes. That meant no one could promote it, no one could sell it. It just sat there. By the time Roadside Attractions picked it up and got it into theaters in March, they only managed 180 screens, made just over $1 million total. It's on Hulu now, so at least people can actually find it. But this should have been bigger. Nicolas Cage made a movie about a guy who comes back to his childhood beach to surf with his son. The locals tell him to fuck off, they humiliate him, and it gets ugly fast. Critics liked it, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. But it's uncomfortable, it's hard R, and you could tell from the premise it was never going to play wide. They put it in 884 theaters, which is this weird middle ground that kills movies. Not enough screens to make a real impact opening weekend, too many screens to have good per-theater averages. It was set up to fail from the distribution strategy alone. Cage goes completely unhinged in it, though. By the end, he's in full desperation mode, totally broken. If you're into watching Cage lose his mind on screen, it delivers, but it was never going to be a hit, and the release basically guaranteed nobody would see it. $2 million budget, made $1.3 million at the box office. Guy brings his white fiancée home to meet his traditional Indian family. They have to plan a wedding that works for everyone. Sounds like every rom-com ever made, except this one's actually smart about it. Every time you expect it to do the obvious thing, it doesn't. It premiered at South by Southwest in March 2024, then spent a full year going to festivals. Blue Harbor finally gave it a theatrical release in April, but they put it in under 100 theaters. You can't make money playing in under 100 theaters. You just can't. Some people said you need to know Bollywood to get the jokes and references, but I didn't, and it still worked fine. It's just one of those small movies that got completely buried because nobody put any real money or effort into releasing it properly. Lionsgate's been having a rough time lately with flops, and this one didn't help. Zachary Levi plays a dad dealing with his son who has brittle bone disease and autism. It's adapted from a best-selling book, so there was actual built-in awareness. They finished filming at the end of 2020, and then it sat there for 4 years. Producers kept saying they were waiting for a less divided political climate in America to release it, which is a nice way of saying they had no idea what to do with it and kept pushing the date. Eventually, they gave up and just dumped it into theaters this past February. Bad move. It opened against Neja 2, which became the highest-grossing animated film of all time and crossed $2 billion worldwide. But even without that competition, nothing about this release was going to work. The marketing was weak, reviews were mediocre, and Zachary Levi's reputation in Hollywood has gotten pretty messy. The few people who actually saw it gave it an A cinema score, which usually means something, but it made $7.2 million total. The budget's never been released, but it obviously wasn't cheap.